Kia ora everybody, and we are only 9 days out from the start of the 2019 Rugby World Cup held in Japan, and this one promises to be probably the most hotly contested Rugby World Cup we have ever seen. Considering in the last sort of 2 weeks we've had 3 teams at the top of the world rankings, if you take that into account, it should be an awesome Rugby World Cup. So this is going to be my quick breakdown of what to expect. So I'm going to go into this pool by pool, talk about the teams, talk about some stats, and then we'll see what we think the final will turn out to be and who will actually take out the William Webb Ellis Cup for 2019. Obviously, All Blacks are the last 2 defending champions in 2011 and 2015 and looking to do a three-peat this year. However, it looks to be one of the most tightly contested World Cups when you've got teams like Ireland, who are currently number 1, Wales, who are Grand Slam the Six Nations, South Africa are also favourites to contest the Cup, Aussie aren't looking too bad this year. Throw in a team like France, who always seem to front up World Cup year. It should be an awesome World Cup, and I'm looking forward to it. So let's break it down. So we start off in Pool A, and we have Ireland hosts Japan, Scotland, Samoa, and Namibia in Pool A. So Ireland are coached by Joe Smith, Kiwi coach. He's done amazing things for Ireland. He led them to their first 2 ever victories over the All Blacks in the last few years. They've played in 8 Rugby World Cups, and the highest finish that they've had has only been the quarterfinals, but they've done that on multiple occasions. They're currently the number 1 ranked team in the world as of this video. In Rugby World Cups, they average 27 points a game, which is pretty respectable. They've won 21 games and they've lost 14, so a mixed bag there. This is probably the best Irish outfit that I've seen going into a Rugby World Cup, to be honest, and they've probably got the best record that they could have had going into a Rugby World Cup as well. I think they're going to top this pool. I think they'll see off Japan, Scotland, Samoa and Russia pretty well, and I see them finishing up the top. Yeah, their first game is against Scotland, which will be a big game. They'll expect to put their best 23 out there. 6 days later, they've got another tricky one against Japan. I also expect them to get past that one. Then they've got a 5-day turnaround where they play Russia, and then 9 days to rest up and play Samoa. So I'm expecting them to play their best outfit for the first 2 games against Scotland and Japan, then maybe play some of their other boys against Russia, and then against Samoa, depending on how other results went, maybe rest a few of their good players as well, leading up to the quarters, especially if they're playing All Blacks or South Africa, or they'll let them have another crack to get them running. So I expect Ireland to come out top of Pool A. And second in Pool A, I am tipping to be Japan. And a lot of people don't agree with this. A lot of people are saying Scotland. And it'll come down to that final pool game, which will be Japan versus Scotland. And I think Japan, the hosts, will get up. They're coached by Jamie Joseph, another Kiwi, former Highlanders coach. Look, they've been in 8 Rugby World Cups and they've never made it out of the pool, so I'm hoping that this will be a first one for them. They're currently 10th in the world, which is about right. They've won 4, lost 22 and drawn 2, so they don't have an awesome World Cup record. They have got some hefty defeats, credit to New Zealand, breaching 100 many years ago, and then back in 2011 ripped up another massive score. So Japan haven't had the best tournaments at World Cup, but I think with the whole country behind them, an exciting flair of young players, Jamie Joseph and Tony Brown and the coaching staff, I really think the Japanese team can exceed expectations. Their run to the playoffs would be having Russia first up, which I think should be a win for them. 8 days later, they've got a good week to prep before they play Ireland. Then they've got 7 days before they play Samoa, and then another 8-day break before they play the big game against Scotland. Scotland only have a 4-day period between Russia and then their big game with Japan. So Japan will have good time leading up into that game. So I do believe Japan will drop one against Ireland, and they will beat Samoa, Russia, and probably maybe Scotland. That is one of my upsets of the Cup. Then let's talk about the Scottish team. So they are coached by Gregor Townsend. They've played in 8 Rugby World Cups. Their highest finish was 4th in 1991. They average 30 points a game, which for Scotland is very respectable. They've won 22, lost 15, drawn 1. So, look, their Rugby World Cup record is actually pretty good above the rest. Their run into the playoffs, they've got a tough game against Ireland first up, and they won't want to see any injuries in that game. 8 days later, they play Samoa, which may want to rest some players. 9 days later, they play Russia. So in that 9-day period, that Russia game, I think they'll run out their second string team, because 4 days later, they'll want their best team playing Japan and probably playing for that second spot and going through to the quarters. Whoever wins that game, I think will go through. And then you've got Samoa and Russia. Look, Samoa coached by Steve Jackson. Russia coached by Lynn Jones, the former Welsh open side flanker. And look, Russia's been to one Rugby World Cup in 2011. They didn't win a game. It was a tough one for them. They had a 13-6 loss to USA, which is pretty bloody good for Russia. And unfortunately for them, no disrespect to Russia, I just don't see them quite getting a win this time around. Samoa, look, they haven't had the best track record lately. They're currently 16th in the world, which is pretty low for them. They've got some talent, but unfortunately I think they're just biting off a bit much than they can chew in this World Cup. And the likes of Ireland, Japan and Scotland will probably see a comfortable win for them. So I'm tipping Ireland and Japan to go through on Pool A. Now we turn to Pool B, which will be an interesting one. I mean, New Zealand, South Africa, Italy, Canada, Namibia. You start off New Zealand, South Africa to open that pool. What a hotly contested game that'll be. Obviously, South Africa beat them in Wellington last year. They drew in Wellington this year, and it'll go on the line. The one that really counts will be on the 21st of September, next Saturday night. And then among that, you've got Italy, Canada and Namibia. Canada and Namibia are below the top 20 teams in the world, but have qualified for this World Cup. And look, Italy haven't had a great track record at World Cups, but you never know. Look, New Zealand, obviously, 3-time champions, coached by Steve Hansen. They're currently the number 2 ranked side in the world. I don't look too much into world rankings, though. They just thrashed Tonga the other day, which was superb. They average 46 points a game in Rugby World Cups. They've had 44 wins and 6 losses, so they're 50 games total. You compare that to South Africa, who are coached by Rassie Erasmus, who I think is an awesome coach and a great bloke as well. They've been to 6 World Cups and they've won 2 of those themselves. They're currently number 4 in the world. They average 34.5 points a game. They've had 30 wins and 6 losses. And honestly, you couldn't ask for 2 better teams to go at it first round of this Rugby World Cup. So New Zealand start off by playing South Africa first up, and then they have an 11-day break before they play Canada, and then a 4-day break before they play Namibia. So if we can play our full-strength team first against South Africa, and then we've got a 2-week period where we play Canada and Namibia, give some of our other boys a go, and then we've got 6 days before we play Italy. We'll bring back some of our first-tier boys, and hopefully we'll go through it unscathed. South Africa play New Zealand first up, as I said. Then they've got 7 days before they play Namibia and Italy, and then 4-day turnaround from Italy to Canada, and then the quarterfinal. So you want to be playing your toughest games first. You want to start hard, and then you want to have a few easy games, rest up some players, and then go back into the quarterfinals with a relatively fit and full-strength team. So I'm predicting that New Zealand and South Africa will go through topping their pools. Then I see Italy coming third. I see Italy beating Canada and Namibia. And then Namibia and Canada game, I've tipped Canada. Wouldn't be surprised, though, if Namibia snuck through. So Namibia, they're coached by Phil Davies. They've played in 5 Rugby World Cups. They're currently number 23 in the world. They average 11 points per game, and they've never won a Rugby World Cup game. So I think this would be the perfect opportunity for a team like Namibia to maybe crack their first World Cup win. As for Canada, they're coached by Kingsley Jones. They've played in all 8 Rugby World Cups. They made the quarters in 1991. They've had 7 wins and 20 losses, and they average 18 points per game, and are currently ranked number 22 in the world, so just 1 place above Namibia. So that'll be a really interesting game. As much as I'm picking Canada to win, I would love to see Namibia potentially get their first win there. But in all due respect to those teams, I see New Zealand coming out on top with South Africa second. However, that honestly could go either way. The winner would see a quarterfinal against Japan or Scotland. In my case, it'd probably be Japan. The loser would set them up with the quarterfinal against Ireland. So that would be really tough and really exciting. So on to Pool C now. The pool of death: England, Argentina, France, USA and Tonga. This is an intense pool. England, you got coached by Eddie Jones, who we all know is a formidable coach. They've won once in their 8 Rugby World Cups. They're currently number 3. They average 31 points a game with 31 wins and 13 losses in World Cup history. I'm expecting England, despite their very tough run of games, to finish top of the pool. Unfortunately for England, they have got their toughest 2 games last. So going into the quarterfinals will be really tough. So they've got Tonga first, then a quick 4-day turnaround before USA. And then they've got a lengthy 9 days before they front up and play Argentina, and then another week before they play France. But that 2-week period where they play Argentina and France will be grueling for the English camp, and then all going to plan they should make the quarterfinals, and then that'll create a very intense stint for the players. And I know Eddie Jones likes to train them hard and very physical, so I would be very surprised if England didn't get any injuries in that Argentina to quarterfinal period. A second team that I'm picking to make out of this pool is Argentina. So they're coached by Mario Ledesma. Sorry about the pronunciation. They have also played in all 8 Rugby World Cups, with their best being a 3rd place in 2007. They're currently number 11 in the world. However, they could beat any of the top 10 teams, I'd say, on their day. Nearly beat the All Blacks earlier this year. They averaged 26, damn near 27 points a game, with 19 wins and 18 losses. So a bit of a mixed bag for Argentina. They've got France first up, which I think they will win. I'm tipping Argentina to win that. A week later, Tonga, yet again a win. A week later, they play England, which I think will be a tough game. And I do see England winning that. And then a very quick 4-day turnaround against the USA, which I think they'll play a second string team to rest some of their starters for the quarterfinals, which I am anticipating them to make. Obviously, this pool could go either way. You know, France could beat England, France could beat Argentina, Argentina could beat England. It's just the way that I predict things to go. So then I see you finishing 3rd is actually the States. Now, this is my Japan beating South Africa pick for the World Cup, but I think USA will actually beat France. And I'm saying that because you look at France, they play Argentina first, and that's going to be a very tough and physical game. And then they've got 11 days, so 2 weeks off basically, before they play the States. The States would have just played England, and then they have a 6-day turnaround before they play France. I think France are going to play a second string team against the States, and I think the States will come out with a full strength team, and I just am predicting this to be the upset of the tournament is the USA beating France. And people will call me a fool, but look, no one saw Japan to beat South Africa, and this is just my 10 cents in the ring. So I'm calling it now, USA to beat France. Look, probably won't happen, and the bookies probably won't favour it, but I'm calling it right now. And then I see France and Tonga finishing 4th and 5th. Look, France, 8 Rugby World Cups. Their highest finish is 2nd. They're currently number 8 in the world. They average 31 points per game. 33 wins, 14 losses, a pretty comprehensive World Cup. And we all know how good France are come Rugby World Cup time, you know. Everyone they were written off in 2011 and came out and just lost to a point to New Zealand. So look, anything can happen to the French. They play Argentina first up, as I said, then they've got 11 days before the States game, a quick turnaround before Tonga, and then 6 days before that big game against England. So if they do make it into the quarters, it will be off a tough period of Tonga-England quarters, which isn't easy, and injuries probably will occur. And then I see Tonga finishing bottom of the pool, unfortunately for them. They play England and Argentina first up, and then France. So 3 big games just like that. I can't see where they could play some new young guys. I think they'll have to front up all 3 of those games, and then they play USA, and they'll target that USA game. But I just think having those 3 tough games in a row will be too tough on them, and USA will see them through. So England and Argentina, I predict, will come out of that pool with USA 3rd, France 4th, Tonga 5th. And then we go into Pool D, which is one that people expect to ride itself, but has a lot of room for upsets in it. So this sees Wales, Australia, Fiji, Georgia, and Uruguay. So Wales, Coached by Warren Gatland, have also played in 8 Rugby World Cups, and their best finish is 3rd in the inaugural 1987 tournament. They're currently 5th in the world. Last week they were 1st. Make of that what you want. They averaged 28.4 points per game with 21 wins and 16 losses in World Cup history. They've got Georgia first up, which will be a challenge for them because that'll be a very physical battle up front, but one I do expect them to win. 6 days later, they've got another physical game when they play Australia. I am tipping Wales to win that one as well. Then they've got a 10-day break before Fiji. They'll probably play a second string team in that Fijian game, and I expect that to be a bit closer than people assume, but they still win. And then 4 days later, they've got Uruguay, beat Uruguay, finish top of the pool, and go through to the quarters. Aussie, I'm picking to come second, coached by Michael Checker, and 8 Rugby World Cups that they've lifted the cup twice. They're currently number 6 in the world, yet again, playing a lot better than that sounds. They average 34.3 points a game with 39 wins and 9 losses. So that is an outstanding record by the Aussies. We can't forget semis in 2011, grand final in 2015, and not a side to take lightly. On the day against Wales, could go either way. They could prevail and finish first in their pool as well. They've got Fiji first up, so another tough game that'll be. Do they play their full-strength team? I reckon they will. I think they will go out with a bang. Then they've got an 8-day break before they turn around and play Wales, which will be the game of the pool. 6 days before Uruguay, 6 days before Georgia, and in that period I believe they can play their second string team and run some blokes that didn't play in the first 2 games. So I think Australia will go through this pool quite nicely, maybe a speed bump against Wales, maybe not. Then it's Fiji, Georgia, Uruguay. Unfortunately for Uruguay, coached by Esteban Menzies, this is their 4th Rugby World Cup. Never made it out of a pool stage. They've won twice against Spain and Georgia back in the 90s, I believe. They average 11 points per game. And like every game in this pool, no disrespect to Uruguay, will be a challenge. They've got Fiji and Georgia first up, and then Aussie and Wales. So it'll be a tough campaign for the men from South America, unfortunately. Fiji, I think, will finish 3rd. They are coached by John McKee. 7 Rugby World Cups, and they've made the quarterfinals before. Currently number 9 in the world, averaging 22 points per game with 10 wins and 18 losses. The men from Fiji, though, I think are a team that on any given day, we saw at the end of last year, they beat France, which was a shock to the rugby world and awesome for Fiji. I think they're a well-drilled team. They're fast, they're strong, and I think, honestly, on any given day, they could beat any one of these teams. They've got Australia first, which will be a very tough game, and then they've got a very short turnaround, 4 days between the Uruguay game. Then they've got 8 days before they play Georgia, which will be a cracker of a game, and then 6 days before they finish against Wales. And they'll be targeting that Welsh game to try and stir things up. But unfortunately, I just don't see Fiji making it through. Milton Haig coaches the Georgian team, who've played in 4 Rugby World Cups. They've never made it out of the pool stage. They average 12 points a game with 4 wins and 12 losses. Yet again for Georgia, this will be a tough campaign for them with Wales first up, a physical game. I don't see them winning that game myself. I see them 6 days later beating Uruguay, and then that big match against Fiji where I have gone Fiji, just though, only just. And then 8 days later, a nice rest before they play Australia, and will look to challenge the Wallaby team. So the way I see Wales topping the pool, Aussie second, Fiji, Georgia, and Uruguay. Then into quarter-final time, and the first quarter-final will be Pool C winners versus Pool D runners-up, which I believe will be England and Australia. Right, so they will play each other, and I see England beating Australia in that game, I really do. It'll be close, but I've picked England to go through. And then I see England playing the winner of New Zealand and Japan. Inevitably will be New Zealand, so I'm getting a New Zealand-England semi-final. On the other side of the draw, the winner of Pool A, Ireland, will play the runner-up of Pool B, being South Africa. Another cracker of a game there, and then I'm going South Africa. I think the Springboks will just be too good on that occasion and advance to the semis. Then we've got Wales winning Pool D, playing Argentina, and runner-up of Pool C. And I see Wales going through and beating Argentina in that game. So we have a New Zealand-England semi and a South Africa-Wales semi, which is massive. 2 big semis. Anyone could win. I'm tipping that South Africa will beat Wales, New Zealand will beat England, and New Zealand will see South Africa in the grand final of the 2019 Rugby World Cup. Who do I see prevailing? I do see the All Blacks. I think they'll lift it for the third time in a row and getting 2019 sewn onto their jersey. Honestly, I haven't been so unsure about any World Cup as I've been about this World Cup. 2015, I 100% knew we were going to win. Come 2019, and honestly, there are about 5 or 6 teams that spring to mind that I think could honestly stake a claim for the World Cup. So I am so excited. I'm looking forward to it. I really am, as much as the whole world is. The country of Japan will get behind it, and I definitely think it'll be the most exciting Rugby World Cup ever been. I think there is so much room for upsets, and I'm calling it Japan to beat Scotland, USA to beat France and my two. So, hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you're looking forward to the World Cup as much as I am. And I guess we have to wait and see what happens. Thank you.